when Representative Jasmine Crockett walked into a local Walmart and handed a generous tip to the cashier at the register. She had no idea it would unlock a secret buried for over a decade. The store, frozen in collective awe, and it all began with only 2 words that stopped everything. Jasmine Crockett had spent the day meeting with constituents and quietly making stops across the town as part of a community visit. She had always prided herself on staying close to her roots, connecting with real people away from the cameras and sound bites of Washington, D.C. While some public figures used their weekends to unwind in private luxury, Jasmine found peace in everyday interactions, talking with workers, shaking hands with neighbors, and walking the same aisles regular Americans walked. That morning, she had entered the Walmart to pick up a few personal items. No security entourage, no press, just a woman in comfortable clothes enjoying a simple moment of anonymity in a town where people weren't always consumed by politics. She greeted employees as she moved through the store, sharing smiles and asking questions about how their day was going. Her energy was warm and familiar. She laughed with customers, took a few selfies with people who recognized her, and moved on, unaware that destiny was waiting at register 6. As she stepped up to pay for her items, she noticed the young cashier, early 20s, polite, a little shy, with soft eyes that seemed to carry a weight beyond her years. Jasmine struck up a short conversation while the items were scanned. She could tell the young woman was professional but reserved. Still, something in her demeanor stood out. Jasmine didn't overthink it. When it came time to pay, she reached into her wallet and handed the cashier a folded bill as a tip, smiling warmly and saying, "This is for you, thank you for what you do." It was a simple act of kindness, nothing new for Jasmine, but what happened next would alter her life forever. The cashier's hands trembled as she accepted the money. Her expression changed, her body tensed, her breathing became shallow, and then her eyes welled up with tears. Jasmine noticed instantly and leaned in slightly, concerned. "Are you okay, honey?" she asked gently. The cashier's lips quivered. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words caught in her throat. The customers in line behind Jasmine began to notice, and employees nearby turned their heads. Then, in barely more than a whisper, the girl said, "You're my aunt." The room paused. The lights buzzed overhead. Someone dropped a can of soda in another aisle. But at the register, time stopped. Jasmine blinked, stunned. "What did you say?" she asked, confused and leaning in closer. The cashier, now openly crying, repeated louder, "You're my aunt. I'm your niece. You thought my whole family died in that car accident, but I survived." The store gasped collectively. A manager who had been walking by stopped in his tracks. Nearby customers froze, their groceries forgotten. The words echoed in the air. The young woman, this trembling, crying cashier, was claiming to be the surviving daughter of Jasmine's sister. The same sister Jasmine had mourned for over a decade. The same accident that had claimed an entire family, or so she had believed. Jasmine's knees weakened. Her heart pounded in her chest. "No, no, that can't be," she muttered. "They said no one survived." Everyone said. The words trailed off. Her eyes searched the girl's face, the eyes, the nose, the shape of her jaw, and then, like a lightning strike of memory, Jasmine saw it, something so familiar in those eyes that it took her breath away. They were the same eyes her sister had. Tears now filled Jasmine's own eyes as she whispered, "What's your name, sweetheart?" And the girl, through sobs, choked out, "Amira. My name is Amira." That was the name. The baby, the youngest daughter, the one Jasmine had held just before that fateful accident so many years ago. Jasmine staggered backward, her hands covering her mouth. The world blurred. It was her. It was really her. As Amira cried harder, she spoke through the sobs, revealing more. "They told me you never came for me. I waited and waited, but you didn't. I thought maybe you didn't care. I didn't know you didn't know." Jasmine collapsed against the counter, her own tears now falling freely. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know you were alive. If I had known, God, baby, I would have moved mountains to find you. I thought you were gone. They told us there were no survivors." Her voice cracked under the weight of guilt and disbelief. "I would have searched forever." Shoppers around them began to cry. Employees stood with hands over their mouths. Some filmed the moment quietly, too stunned to do anything else. The entire Walmart had turned into a sanctuary of grief, reunion, and unimaginable healing. Jasmine stepped around the counter and wrapped Amira in her arms, holding her as tightly as she could. It was the kind of hug that tried to make up for all the years lost, the birthdays missed, the milestones unseen. "I love you. I never stopped loving your family," Jasmine whispered, "and now I'll never let you go again." Amira's voice, muffled by Jasmine's shoulder, said, I started working here just to survive while I went to school. I never thought you'd come in. I used to Google you, watch your videos. I was scared to reach out." Jasmine pulled back, cupping her niece's face in her hands, and said, "You don't have to be scared anymore. We're together now." The rawness of their embrace was almost too much for those watching. An older woman in line wiped her eyes and said, "This is a miracle." Later, as things settled, Amira told more of her story. After the crash, she had been in a coma. By the time she woke up, her identity had been muddled in the system. Records were lost. No one knew she had survived except the state, with no clear family contact and no one able to speak on her behalf. She became another case in the foster care system. She bounced between homes, never fully finding a family, never knowing where she came from. But the memories never left her completely, and when she was old enough, she began looking. That's when she discovered Jasmine. She saw her on television, heard her speak passionately in defense of justice, and something clicked. She felt it. She just didn't have the courage to make contact. And now, fate had done it for her. All the years of wondering, aching, and trying to piece together what had gone wrong, why no one came, why she was left behind, suddenly dissolved into a moment of breathtaking clarity. Jasmine Crockett, still dazed from the gravity of what she'd just learned, reached for her phone with trembling fingers. Her voice was uneven but urgent as she called her assistant. "Cancel the rest of my schedule," she said softly but firmly. "I've just found my family. Nothing else matters today." Her words held a power far beyond politics, as if spoken by a woman who had suddenly rediscovered the very essence of her identity, the roots she thought she'd lost in a tragedy that had haunted her for years. That night, in a quiet, warmly lit living room, Jasmine and Amira sat side by side on a plush grey couch, the space between them non-existent. On the coffee table in front of them sat a weathered photo album, its corners softened with time. Jasmine opened it slowly, revealing images of a family Amira had long believed were lost to her forever. There were pictures of her mother holding her as a baby, of her father lifting her high above his head with pride in his eyes. There were birthday cakes, backyard barbecues, holidays spent together in the joy of shared love. With every photo turned, Amira's tears fell anew, tears of grief, of relief, of belonging. "That's your mom," Jasmine whispered, pointing to a snapshot of her sister laughing in a garden. "And this is you when you were just a few months old. I held you that day. I remember it so clearly." Amira touched the photograph as if she could feel her younger self through it. For the first time, she didn't feel like a question mark in the world. The next day, the video footage captured inside the Walmart began to spread. One employee had quietly recorded the emotional encounter, not for fame or attention, but because something inside them had said, "This moment matters." Within hours, the footage was online. By that evening, it had reached hundreds of thousands of views. Then millions, people around the country, and eventually the world, watched as a cashier broke down in tears, revealing the truth of her identity, and as a congresswoman cried out in shock and joy, embracing her long-lost niece. Comments poured in from every corner of the internet. "This restored my faith in humanity. I cried so hard watching this. Family always finds its way home." For every viewer, the moment resonated differently. Some saw their own estranged relatives, others saw the painful holes left in their hearts by those they'd lost. But universally, everyone felt the raw, unfiltered beauty of a family rediscovered against all odds. Television news segments ran features on the story. Radio hosts discussed it with emotional voices. Bloggers and columnists wrote articles not about policy, but about grace, fate, and the deep human need to belong. And yet, through it all, Jasmine and Amira stayed quiet. They didn't need to speak to the cameras. Their hearts were speaking loudly enough. Jasmine, too, felt changed. More than a leader, more than a lawmaker. She was now a woman renewed by personal miracle. The pain she had buried, the grief she had carried, suddenly it had context. She had not lost her entire family. She had been given back the one part she needed to feel whole again. In speeches she gave after the incident, Jasmine occasionally alluded to the event without naming names. "Never give up on hope," she'd say, "even when the story seems over. The last chapter may surprise you." Her eyes would soften, and the room would quiet, because people could feel the truth in her voice. What happened in that Walmart in a small Texas town was more than a headline. It was a reminder that behind every face is a story waiting to be told. That kindness can open doors we didn't even know were locked, and that family is not always lost. It's sometimes just waiting for the right moment to come back home. If this story touched you, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs to believe in hope again. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real stories that prove the world still holds moments of profound, transformative connection.